So today I'm going to give a little update on our success, quote unquote, during the early October season, as well as ask you for your help on something. How do I get small groups of trafficking mallards to come into this spot? Let me know what you think.
You're watching the Foul Play YouTube channel.
Alright, foul players, here we are out in a big hole today. It's October 26th. It's a Wednesday, so we just had our short season in North Carolina. Just to recap for you guys maybe that are out of the state, we get 2 days. It was last weekend for this part of the state. It'll be next weekend for the eastern part of the state. But we get these 2 days right in the middle of, or at the end of October. Honestly, I think it's a waste of time. It's better now. It used to be the first weekend of October, which was a real waste of time. But anyway, I digress. So, if you've been following along, you know I've been getting ducks to come into this, what I now call the big hole, was calling a smartweed hole. It's got right over here, tucked up next to this buckbrush. And sawbirds didn't get any in. I think we had one or two that maybe buzzed the trees over here. One guy got one shot off and didn't have any luck. Pretty discouraging. I really expect to see a bunch. 2 days I had, a big group of wood ducks sitting right here where we were going to be sitting. Put our decoys out back over here. Plan was they would come over us. So I'm not sure what we did wrong. Granted, they're ducks. They're going to do what they want to do, but not the outcome I was expecting. Didn't bag any birds at all. Had a lot of them coming from over the trees. Came over here. Some even sailed down and turned and went to the back hole. Maybe that's what they've been doing all along. Maybe they've always been landing back there and swimming. I did actually see them do that last year. Land back in the back and then swim over here. I'm going to put up a couple pictures. I popped the drone up before I turned the camera on, and I took a picture of this from, I think it says about 90 meters up, pretty high, you can see the whole thing, and I took a picture of the back, right? So a couple of things I can see. This still has this kind of scum on it, like you get in a swamp. Almost looks like an oil slick. Water looks much more open back there. But I've got seeds on the ground. I can see smartweed seeds floating. So like I said, maybe they like to land back there and they swim in here. I did have ducks coming in and landing. I caught a group of them on the camera right back here landing. So I don't know. maybe it was just a day of duck hunting, and if we'd have been here the next day, they'd have been coming right to us. I do think we weren't hid well enough. We were just kind of sitting here. When I made the decision we were going to sit next to this buckbrush, it still had leaves on it, and now it does not. So I think we were a little too exposed. There were 3 of us sitting there. We could have been hidden better. There's some trees and stuff we probably should have tucked up behind instead of in front of. So I'm not sure. So we'll keep working on it. I do need to pump some more water. It's deep where I'm standing, but I guess from above, we'll see those 2 pictures. We'll see, if it looks like water or not. Maybe it just wasn't open enough in here. I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this to hold water, which concerns me, but I'll just keep pumping it. I can come in here now that I got the extended runtime pump. I can come in here and just let that sucker run for 8 hours, and it fills it up nicely. So I'll probably go get a can of gas today and fire that up before I head home. So anyway, as I mentioned in the intro, one of the things I've seen out here several times is these small groups of high-flying mallards, and not even thinking about taking a look at it. So we're in a small hole, right, as we saw from the aerial pictures. We're in a small hole here. There's a creek 50, 60 yards right over here, but small. We've got mallards in here, right? I know I've seen them, but here's kind of the weird things I've seen. So Actually, there goes 4 wood ducks. I wish the camera was turned around. 4 wood ducks just flew in gun range right there. Wow. Okay, you know, they obviously saw me, heard me, I'm sure, but they were sitting back there in the back home. Wow. Okay, well, that makes me feel a little better. Anyway, back to the mallards. So as we're sitting here, and we saw it during dove season, and we saw it Friday night, the night before we were camped out on the river down here, and we saw a group do the same thing, and it is almost like they are following the highway. Now there's a lake, there's a community lake up here that's significant. I've got a friend that lives up there, and I've seen mallards on that lake, but they are flying this way to that way. I saw 2 or 3 flights do it during dove season, so early September. We saw a flight, looked like they were on the same vector Friday night, and we saw 2 or 3 groups, we're talking small groups, 2 to 5 birds, same vector each time, right? So I hit them on a call, right? We had a dozen decoys out, and you know, my squirters and 1 spinner, but they're not giving us a look at all. I don't know what I can do other than, you know, 50 pounds of corn, which I'm not going to do, to encourage them to come in here. Because I know they've come in here before. The place where I built the blind over here, we sat there one morning and had to almost take our hats off 5 minutes before shooting light and land right in front of us. So I know that they're aware. Last season anyway, they were aware. So this is what I'm asking for you guys. Any comments on how to attract? I'm basically running a traffic pattern, but I don't have a big hole. I can put out over 100 decoys in here, but then there wouldn't be any room for anybody to land. So I'm not sure what the right action is. They didn't give us a look. They didn't miss a wing beat. They're a little too far away to see if they were dipping ahead or not. But they were close enough, you know, that they could hear me call. They were probably 4 treetops high, I guess. You know, whatever that, you can kind of imagine. We're standing here under some, you know, mature hardwood. So 4 treetops high, maybe a little higher. Close enough I could see they knew they were mallards. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to get them to come take a look at us. Maybe just keeping water in here. I threw a couple decoys out, as you saw in earlier videos, just to let them sit here. They're kind of beached right now. So that's my thought, or that's my question. How do I attract these small groups of high-flying trafficking mallards? Or maybe I can't. I don't know. I am going to be better hid when I come and hunt here. And I'm also going to sneak in here one morning next week. I'm going to come out, I'm going to be out here and probably just sit in the trees over here where I can see, but I'm not on the water, and see where these ducks are going. And if I see the same pattern where they're coming through here, making this turn, and landed back there, I'm not going to sit here, I'm going to sit back there. So I'm going to scout them a little bit better to see how they're using this hole, the wood ducks anyway. And then, you know, I thought about just bringing 3 dozen decoys out here if I keep seeing these mallards do what they're doing. And throw them out there and give them something to look at. But they are obviously, like I said, I've seen about 7 or 8 different flights of mallards, and they are going from there to there every time. And it doesn't matter where I've been on the farm, they're doing the same thing. I know there's some good swamps down here. I can see from aerial photography. I actually put the drone up last weekend and could see one off the river. There used to be a hunting club down there right off the river as well. I don't know if they're still running or not. I didn't really hear them shoot any last year. Did not hear them shoot Saturday, so maybe they closed up. But they used to plant and flood, so I'm not sure if those birds are heading there or not. So anywho, I think that's enough of that. So I'm out here today. I am just gonna kind of check on the place a little bit. There's a camera back there. I don't know if you can see it on a 2x4. It's the one I had down here. I had to move it so we didn't shoot it, which didn't matter, but it would have been right in our line of shooting if we had gotten some birds to come in. So I'm going to move it right back here so it is pointing right at this area through here where we're hunting. I'm going to run over to the blind a little bit. I think I've got enough lumber laying around over there. I can build a bench inside it. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So if I get that done, I'll show you guys. And then check on the status of the creek. It has been getting higher and higher, and we got some rain coming in this week. I wasn't going to drop the pipe over there and flood that hole for another maybe week or 2, but if it gets to the point where the creek comes up, well, then it floods, and so be it. So anyway, that's all I'm doing here today. Maybe I'll show you guys a little bit more in just a minute when I get over there and work on the blind. So thanks for watching along. Give me that thumbs up and a subscribe if you enjoy what I'm doing. And like I said, if you got any tips for me on how to attract these trafficking mallards, I would love to hear it in the comments down below. Thanks a lot. All right, we got woodies out here in the creek. Let's see if I can get them on camera. There's 2, 4, there they go. Actually, they just jumped over. They didn't go 50 feet. That's cool. Always love to see ducks. This is neat. So I had hunted here when I first started coming down here with Scott, my buddy that owns the farm. We would sit right here. Actually, we sat right over here on the bank, and had a good time. First North Carolina duck I ever shot was standing right out there, so that was cool. And we had some good times out here. Certainly very, very fortunate to have a friend that has this resource that he is willing to share with me. But oh, yeah, how about that? There was 5 or 6. Maybe that's some of the 4 that flew over me. There was more than 4. So maybe that's 4 that just flew over me a minute ago. But very cool. I always like to sneak up on this hole. There's a beaver dam over there. Let's walk down a little closer. There's a beaver dam that has been here since the dawn of time. But a hurricane came through, I don't know, several years ago. I don't know if you can hear that, but some more just jumped up out of the creek. This is what we got into last year, where they're really just in this creek all the time. But anywho, the other side of these trees, you can kind of see it. There's a beaver dam, and they have obviously been at work, because this was it was damp, but you didn't really even need boots. There they are, look at that. There's 6. That's a different 6 than the ones I jumped. So where are they going? They're circling around. They're coming back around our way. And I think I hear deer running through the woods. So I'm gonna sit here for a second, see if they come back. Anyway, this beaver dam got blown up by a hurricane. Let me read you. And I can tell because when I was up at where I have the pump to pump in the big hole, the creek's higher there. There's more water where I've been drawing it from in this little ditch that goes, that the beavers had dug to connect that to the big hole. This creek used to be high enough that it would flood. Now I have to flood it, but if it gets up high enough I'd be super happy if this gets high enough that I can do it like I do the bean hole, where I just plug up one side and open the other and don't have to mess with a pump. So this is cool, and we're getting some rain coming in the forecast over the next couple weeks. So I guess this is the beaver cycle. They take the summer off, and when fall rolls around, I've been noticing more activity. We actually Scott had to cut a tree over the road the other day because the beavers had knocked one down. But yeah, back here in the back, that's the main creek. Beyond it, before you get to the tall trees, it's actually flooded back in those trees. It's across the property line, and there is a little camping / neighborhood over there. So obviously we're not going to go over there and hunt, but we can hunt on our side of it as much as we want. But this is flooded. This was, I think, with some smartweed growing in here. This is a cool spot because like 3 different times this summer I flushed a pair of mallards out of this. So I'm going to take one of those. I'm going to build one of those Delta hen houses this year and stick it right in here somewhere, probably over there, so that the little ducklings can jump in the water when they're done. And definitely going to put a bunch of wood duck boxes up and down the creek this year as well. So, all right, doesn't look like those woodies are coming back, but super excited to see them in there for sure. So, all right, I'm gonna head on over. For real this time, I'm gonna head over to the bean hole. All right, just a quick look at the bean hole. I said I was gonna come over and maybe work on a bench for the blind, but I don't really have the right materials for that. I need more legs to hold it up. I was gonna try to just screw it to that OSB, but that's not gonna hold 3 dudes by any stretch of the imagination. So I'll put that on pause, but I thought I would just show you how it's looking out here. We got some rice here that's maturing, and once it's flooded will be eye level to a duck. This stuff is still very green. Back in the very back, it's yellowing up some, which I think is a good thing. Still wet. There's still water in the ditch. It's not draining completely, but lots of duck food. A lot of the wild stuff has fallen over, which I'm pretty happy about, honestly, because then that's just going to help open up the water. So we'll see. If we get a bunch of rain in here over the next week and the creek comes up, I may go ahead and flood it early. I'd rather it flood through my pipe as opposed to over the berm. I just don't want that erosion coming into play. So maybe I'll go ahead and flood it out earlier. But hey, I said I was coming over here, so I just thought I'd give you a quick look at it. So that's it for today. Didn't get the pump running because I don't have a fuel tank, a gas can, but I'll come out here later in the week and get her taken care of. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. Hope your season is kicking off good, and let's all have a good one. Stay safe. Thanks a lot.